Hello everyone, and welcome to In the Stand with Matt Blymeyer. I want to give a special thanks to Scent Crusher, Tactacam, and Tenpoint Crossbow Technologies for their products that I use while in the stand. It's been a pretty slow season here in Pennsylvania since the first day when I harvested my doe. Again, I think the logging at the property and the crop changes and planting changes from the farmers in the area have really changed the patterns of these deer, and I haven't yet quite figured it out. I've been seeing some doe, but mainly some yearling doe and very small doe, and they have been in the food plot that I planted earlier this summer. As a matter of fact, I haven't even seen an antler from a tree stand until Saturday morning of Halloween, October 31st. Not only was buck activity down when I was in the stand, but it also had really dropped off, especially on my game cameras. I wasn't getting many pictures of bucks at all, not even after dark. On the morning of Halloween, I did see the first buck from the stand, and I also got this very cool footage on this very foggy morning of this fox searching for his prey so he could have his early morning Halloween breakfast. Look as he pounces on his food and captures his morning harvest. Earlier this year, I looked at the calendar and the hunting seasons, and I had circled the week of November 2nd. This was after the last full moon in the month of October, and I really felt like this would be a great week to be in the stand. I felt like the bucks would be moving looking for that first hot doe of the season, and that I'd have an opportunity to harvest a buck this week. However, earlier in the week, the weather had different plans. Monday and Tuesday was extremely windy with 20 to 30 mile an hour winds and gusts over 40 miles an hour on Monday. I did spend a few hours in the stand Monday afternoon and saw a few deer, and Tuesday I hunted the stand again and saw 2 doe in the morning and 9 doe in the evening, again mainly in the food plot and mainly small immature does. On Friday, November 6th, I again decided to take the morning off work to spend some time in the stand. However, this time I decided to hunt my stand in the food plot, which had been hunted very little this year. I had hunted it one evening earlier in October, and my wife had actually sat in this stand on the morning of Halloween. About 7:15, I looked at the back of the food plot and I saw a buck make its way into the plot and begin working his way along the lower edge of the plot. It didn't take me long to recognize this buck. We had this buck on game cameras earlier this year, and I also saw this buck last year on the property. Last year he was a 5-point with a Y on his left side and a brow, and just a little Y on his right side. This year he was a much bigger bodied deer, however the rat cannot change too much. This year the only difference on the right hand side was a little crab claw type point at the end of the beam, and just a little bit more tine length on his left side. My wife and I had seen this buck Saturday of Halloween when we were leaving the property. He was bedded down in a drainage ditch on the left hand side of the driveway as we left the property. I had made the decision that I was going to harvest this buck this morning had he given me the opportunity, due to the nice body size and the food that he would offer to my family, and also the fact that he had not had much antler growth year over year. The buck continued to work his way along the lower edge of the food plot, and he got to about 45 or 50 yards, and he turned and angled towards me. I thought he may work his way up across the food plot and into the thicket behind my stand. However, after a few seconds, he decided he was going to continue along the lower edge of the plot. I continued to adjust my position in the stand as he worked his way from left to right. And when he got to a spot that I knew was about 30 yards, I grunted and stopped the deer in his tracks. I settled the 30-yard reticle on my Tenpoint Vengent s440 just behind the front shoulder as he was slightly angled towards me. I squeezed off the trigger, and this deer turned and did a 180 and went crashing out through the treetops from the logging that had been done on the property earlier in the year. Take a listen to the awesome audio that I got from my 5 Tactacam cameras as they were running as this buck went crashing through those treetops. A few seconds after the crashing, I heard another crashing sound, and I was positive this was the buck expiring.
Yes, baby. Buck down. Buck down, baby.
After hearing this, I stopped my cameras and turned on my main front-facing 5.0 camera, put it in Wi-Fi mode, and connected my phone to it through the Tactacam app. I was able to download and review the shot footage to confirm that the arrow had hit exactly where I had aimed, and that in fact it was a lethal shot. and what I thought I heard was the buck crashing. I was also able to take this clip, download it, trim it down in an app on my phone, and send it via text message to my wife. What a great way to share your hunt. Thanks, Tactacam. I had called my good friend Gil, who was planning on coming to this property and hunting later in the day, and told him that I had just harvested a buck. He told me he would come up early to help me do the tracking and get the deer out, and then he would stay to hunt the rest of the day. When Gil got there, we walked in the woods and I showed him the arrow. It was covered in bright red bubbly blood. Bolt looks good, lots of bright red blood. Let's go see if we can find him. And then I showed him the direction the buck had ran. Again, because of the logging that had been done in the area, and we know what the buck ran through, we decided to follow the logging road down around the bottom side to see if we could locate the buck. Once we got down around the bottom edge, we looked across the clear cut, and there he laid. As we approached the buck, there was a very good blood trail, and the buck had only made it about 60 yards from the shot until he expired. Again, thanks to Tenpoint and their Vengent s440 and their Evo-X Centerpunch bolts for doing an amazing job on this buck that only made it 60 yards. Again, a special thanks to Scent Crusher and their new Halo series ozone generator. I use this generator in the tub where I store all of my hunting clothes and backpacks, and I crush the odor off my gear after every hunt and before every hunt. Thank you, Scent Crusher. Again, thank you to Tactacam and their 5 cameras that I had running during this hunt that I operated all by pushing one button on my Tactacam remote. Thank you for allowing me to record my hunts, preserve these memories, and share my hunts with my family and friends, and everybody watching today on In the Stand with Matt Blymeyer. My hunting season is far from over. I still got 2 Pennsylvania doe tags, a Maryland hunting license that I can harvest bucks and does with, and I will be heading to northern Pennsylvania here in a few weeks on a rifle bear hunt. I can't wait to get some additional film to share my hunt with you and make the next episode of In the Stand with Matt Blymeyer. So until next time, happy hunting, be safe, good luck, and don't forget to hit the button so you can share your hunt with your friends and your family. See you next time on In the Stand with Matt Blymeyer. A special thanks to Scent Crusher, Tactacam, and 10-Point Crossbow Technologies.